Hello, Clive, and thanks for joining me today on this beautiful Wednesday that we're having.
No, absolute pleasure. Yeah, I'm in Joburg and we're having a beautiful Wednesday as well.
Very, very nice. So we'll jump straight in. The reason I wanted to have a conversation with you is because, I wanted to try and understand the war room mentality and action points at the moment. From last year you guys won Investor of the Year. So I wanted to just understand right now, when you're engaging with your investees and you're walking into that Wednesday morning, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock war room meeting, what are you saying to them as far as, okay, guys, I want to know this, and this is what I want you to do for today. We'll deal with tomorrow. What is that kind of war room vibe like, if I may ask?
I mean, use the analogy of a war room, but I think firstly, we've got something I learned from when I was in Silicon Valley about being a peacetime CEO and a wartime CEO. And we most definitely, each of our CEOs are wartime CEOs now, and their approach to business and making quick decisions and their flexibility and their courage is very, very different to the peacetime CEO, where things are just going well and you can close your eyes and the business grows. Right now, you need to be that wartime CEO where you have to make very, very quick decisions, whether it's retrenching staff, how much cash flow you've got. So we really are in wartime, and we surround ourselves with wartime CEOs. And predominantly that's what we have. We've invested in great entrepreneurs. So what's that meeting? First thing I ask them, number one is, because the markets are illiquid at the moment, the capital markets are illiquid, there's not enough capital flying. Before we could have raised that, the 100, 200 million, could have raised 30, 40 million bucks. That's changing. So term sheets that were out there that were signed are being pulled by VCs. Now that's South Africa and that's global. Term sheets are being modified to be more favorable towards the VC than towards the entrepreneur. So it's definitely a venture capitalist market than an entrepreneur's market. A few months ago, the entrepreneurs were the kings. Right now, and the VCs were the beggars. Right now, the VCs are the kings and the entrepreneurs are the beggars. It's very sad for the entrepreneurs, but it's completely changed. If they want to raise capital, they're going to have to look at their valuations. They're going to have to be a lot more agile and flexible with the terms, else they're just not going to raise capital. So that leads to what's my discussion with each of my 8 CEOs that I have in Kalon. Number one is, how much cash flow do we have? Cash is king, and cash is still king. If you're a VC funded business, or if you're not a VC funded business, but you want to get to VC funding, right now you need a minimum 24 months of runway, up to 36 months worth of runway. So most of our companies, if you just spend what they're spending now, they may be on 12 months worth of runway. So the first thing I've asked them to do is come up with a rebudget and show me how you get to a minimum 24 months, maybe even a 30 or 36 months, depending on which vertical they're possibly in. And why I do that now is because it's all based on a forecast at the moment. A revenue forecast which is climbing, and then the expense line is climbing, and everything is great, or we're looking at raising further capital in 12 months. I'm saying that 12 months raising capital is now 18 to 24 months. So if you think you can raise in 12 months, you're going to go bankrupt. So each of them have come up with a plan, exactly how they're going to cut costs, because it's a lot easier to cut a rand than to raise a rand right now. So cut your costs. Unfortunately and sadly, it results in headcount reduction, but there's something called furlough leave, which you can put them on temporary leave, and they can get UIF benefits. And when the business picks up, you not to rehire them, they just join the business again, and you start paying them again. So we're using furlough where we need to. So that's the first thing, is get to 24 at a minimum 24 months. This is not Kalon's companies. This is every entrepreneur out there who I'm sure you're going to get this video clip out to, is get to a minimum 24 months. If you are going to look at raising capital, give yourself 18 to 24 months to raise capital. The markets have lost that liquidity. A lot of LPs, where they've made commitments to GPs, general partners, they're pulling those commitments. They say, maybe it's your first time fund. It's too risky right now. That asset class is too risky. Look, every asset class is too risky right now, but there's so much less money in the marketplace. As I said, the venture capitalists are paying a lot less money for great companies. If you are a great company, you'll still raise capital. I'm just not convinced you'll raise capital at the same level that you raised capital in your last round. And what you face is down round, and you face all sorts of anti-dilution protection from the venture capitalists. So lesson number one, lesson number two, lesson number three, get to a 24 plus months of cash flow that your business can survive. And as I said, it's a wartime CEO. You've got to make very quick decisions about your expenses. You have to cut those costs to meet your budget and extend that thing to 24 months. Hypothetically, you haven't got 24 months. You've got 1 or 2 months left. You are in serious trouble. All you can do is try and cut as much cost as you can and see if you can try and extend that runway from 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 months, and touch wood that the economy turns around and the neighborhood that you're in, the business turns around. But otherwise, you're in serious trouble.
So let me ask you a fundamental question. Do you think that the word runway and the fact that a lot of companies rely on a runway, the whole fundamental possibly needs to be re-looked at? Because, we run a lean business. We don't need a runway because we don't have expenses. We outsource. We don't have office space. We don't have salaried staff. We have commission earning participants. When the business makes, those who are involved get the money. We don't have a runway because we don't need a runway. So we're a lean business. Do you feel that potentially now could be a time to maybe relook at some of the fundamentals of how companies approach business as usual? Before just, we need office space, folks. We need a receptionist. We need warehousing. Like, let's say you're a business in the fishing industry, just making it up. Before, you would need the warehouse, the forklift, the fishermen, the delivery drivers, the refrigeration, the whole toot. You'd go to the bank, you'd get a loan, you'd be able, based on your projections and your runway, you'd get your loan, you'd run your business as a whole. But imagine now you're an entrepreneur. Now you outsource to 4 fishermen. You outsource to a guy that has a warehouse with fridges, but nothing else on the go. You outsource to a distribution business. You form a consortium. I learned recently our business is not only an organized collaborative, it's actually a consortium of actuaries. So you actually form consortiums to say, we're going to run as a consortium. We'll form a full business that runs like that, but we won't have to take on the entire system ourselves so that we don't need a runway. What are your thoughts on possibly that thinking? Is it something that you've considered at all? I mean, obviously it's wartime and that's more medium-term goals of how do we reshape our business. But is there something that maybe you've thought about?
No, look, I think that's something every entrepreneur needs to think about is innovation at a time of uncertainty like this. So if they've got a business model where whatever they were doing, your example about fishery or any other manufacturing site, where maybe it's not seen as an essential service and the manufacturing shop is closed. I've seen a number of really good examples where they've pivoted to make sanitizer, to make all the things that are needed in the hospitals, to make all the things you need for COVID virus. So I've seen so many good examples of really innovative entrepreneurs that don't sit there and be a victim. Look, yeah, this is happening to me. Say, this is the situation. I can't change it. What can I do about it? And that's a pivot. The pivot either in product, the pivot in business model. As you say about your business model, you've got contractors, you have no expenses, so you're profit generating. So I think every entrepreneur needs to take a long, hard look at their business and say, okay, in these times, what do I pivot that I can make money in times of uncertainty? Because I'll tell you something, those are the guys that are going to come out so strong at the other end, and that's how great businesses are going to be built. So I think every entrepreneur needs to look at their business. If the revenue line is dried up, they're already in manufacturing, fast-moving consumer goods where it's dried up, they need to look at maybe a B2B type of play and come up with another value proposition that's going to solve a client's problem. Because I believe, particularly in the tech space, if you're a good tech business, you can pivot that tech business. And innovation is not just about product innovation. Innovation is business model innovation. So they innovate their business model, just charge their clients in a different way. They can come out of this thing in a much stronger way. But
Okay.
I really do believe it's time for every entrepreneur to sit down and say, we can't change the situation, but we can change what we do about the situation.
Okay. So back to the war room, because that was just a thought. I just wanted to kind of throw that in while we're thinking, okay, because you mentioned the word Runway. Okay, please share with me a little bit more about some of the other conversations you're having with some of your entrepreneurs or your investees.
I think number one is, I tell you, I've literally taken every line item on the profit on the income statement. So line item by line item of the expenses, the operating expenditure, and every single line said, why do we need this? Why do we need this? Why? And I asked the 5 whys. So why do we need this? Because of this, we need it. But because of that, why do you still need it? And I learned this at Accenture, the 5 why, the 5 whys. And eventually you get to the last why and you realize you actually don't need that expenditure. Do you need that rental office? Why? Because I have clients. Okay, so why can't you just use a off-site accommodation? Oh, okay. You get the 5 whys. They don't need rent accommodation. So these are uncertain times, and these desperate times require desperate measures. So number one is challenge every single line item on that income statement. Every rand saved is easier than every rand earned. So you got to do that. Number one, you do that. Then you look at every single person. What do they do? As you rightfully said, do you need that secretary for the next 3 months while we're going, or 6 months, or 9 months, or 12 months while we're going through this uncertainty? The answer is no. If you have to set up a few meetings yourself, do it yourself. If you have to do that, do you need all those sales guys? It's counterintuitive to cut salespeople, but your business is shrinking. There's no one buying. Do you need all these sales guys? So you have to actually. I'm not saying that you do, you don't. I don't have that mystical. I can't look in that crystal ball and say yes or no. If I could, I'd be a hedge fund manager, but I'm not. But you have to look at individually, do you need it? If they're accretive to your business and they're bringing in more business and you're still bringing in more sales, absolutely. If you're not, and they're just twiddling their thumbs and everyone's saying no, maybe you need to look at putting them on furlough leave or just cutting down on the number of salespeople.
And what is the obligation or allowance in a time like this to do some haircuts? Would you be taken to the CCMA? Guaranteed? Would you have some? I mean, obviously, we're not talking about the emotional and the humanitarian side of things. That's a whole conversation to have. But just tell me a little bit about when you say to them, okay, guys, let's have a look at the contracts that we've got with them. Before we start doing something shooting from the hip, let's just make sure that our bases are covered. We can do this. You also look, I mean, please tell me a little bit about some of these tricky, technical, contractual things that you're looking at.
Yeah, so I think, if you look at the government initiatives around the impact that COVID is having on certain businesses, Cyril's 500 billion rand, R500 billion commitment or austerity measure that came out last night. There's so many opportunities to get paid out of the UIF funds. If you have to put people on furlough leave, I can't believe the CCMA right now is what it should be a concern. It's the concern, number one, keep your employees if you can. It made you, first thing I look at, okay, we don't need these employees full-time, let's cut it down to 4 days a week. Let's cut it down to 3 days a week. At least they've still got a job and they're earning an income. If you can't even afford that, then there's a lot of government initiatives that will, through this austerity measures, that will subsidize many of these employers. There's already been over 1 billion, 2 billion rand that is in UIF claims. But I'm not the labor lawyer. I think people have to go and see all these different initiatives. There's many of them around protecting labor, preventing labor from being retrenched. So the government are doing, I think, everything they can. It's a matter of being creative, get to understand what those initiatives are, get to understand, do those initiatives apply to your business? And if you can do that, that's absolutely first prize, because the government wants your business to stay alive. The government does not want you to cut people out of your organization. That's the last thing you do. But maybe there's other things the government will help you with that can prevent you from cutting. But there are other ways. You can do a 20% haircut on salaries for the next 6 months. No retrenchment, but a 20% haircut on salaries. It's happening all over the world. I'm doing that to some of the companies, and that's just it's the status of where we're being. Some of my CEOs now are not taking a salary for the next 6 months because they've got equity in lieu of salary. We'll put it down as a loan, and they can get paid back at a nominal interest rate. They'll get paid back when times are better. So look at cutting, looking at a haircut on salaries. Look at reducing the number of days. Then you look at the worst thing, which is putting them on furlough leave, and the absolute worst thing is retrenching them. That's the last thing. But then there are lots of opportunities in the government right now, the government initiatives, to at least give something back of the UIF that people have paid, that they maybe not a living wage, but something that keeps their head above water.
Okay. And what is the messaging to the CEOs and the investees as far as what their communication should be to clients? There's two approaches. One approach is you interact and spend a lot of admin time with current clients and talk about discounts. That's one approach. The other approach is we don't have to specifically say that yet. Maybe we don't need to do that. Let's rather just focus on possibly new clients. What is your balance in the current versus picking up new clients?
Yeah, look, I think I'll come back to discounting because I have quite a strong view about and my 30 years of experience about how discounting actually doesn't help. But I mean, the conversation number one is make every customer you've got number one. Make them raving fan clients. So rather, if you're going to spend time, spend it on your current clients and they will buy more and more and more from you. Particularly, I'm talking about in the B2B environment. Because let's say that costs you 6 times more to convert a new client than it does for a current client. So my number one thing to my investing companies, make your clients the happiest people on the planet. They will speak to other people in their friends. They will sell for you and you might get the virality of your business. New clients right now, particularly in business to business enterprise, takes a long time to close. It's hard to close. You can close them. We're still seeing, I'll tell you, some really nice deals being closed in this time, but we're also seeing a lot of deals being put on hold in this time. So I think the most important thing, when you've got clients, look after them, make them happy, and don't lose them. Because unless you want to lose them, it's different. But don't lose them if you want them. Because not only will they guarantee you a certain amount of revenue, they potentially will buy more and add more items to the basket, and they'll pay you more, and you'll get what they call net economic churn in a software as a service business. I think in terms of new clients, yes, obviously you need to keep the business going. It is a good time while we have got this time to at least start filling up the pipeline of new potential deals. Get that into your pipeline. It makes sense. Use this time to build your pipeline. You might not be closing, but at least you're building relationships, you're developing relationships, and you're pushing people through or clients through your pipeline. As far as discounting, in my many years of experience, they might ask for a discount, and it depends on the client, and that you can make but that should be absolutely, as you said, an absolute last resort. Typically, you won't lose a client because a couple of bob. You won't lose the client. If they want you, they'll pay you. Or you can just say, I'll give you a payment holiday for 6 months, and then we'll just carry this payment through for the next 6 months. But discounting is not an acquisition strategy. It really isn't. Else, if they really want and they're pushing you on discount, particularly in the tech space, maybe in the manufacturing space, maybe it's not a great client that you're working with. But yes, you have to look at it. There's no one size fits all. I know in the tech space, it's normally not what's going to help close our deals. It's better customer service. It's maybe adding on, giving you more for free than actually discounting. They've got 100 users, open up to 200. They've got that much functionality, open up a bit more functionality at the same price. But discount is the last thing you look at, because then it becomes a cheap client.
Okay. And I have a strong view on what we call the minimal viable product. Rather get one out, get some paying clients, and we'll build it from there. Now, some other people try and go bells and whistles because they're actually scared to even like pop the cork, So are you finding that potentially where maybe before you wouldn't have pushed out a certain functionality until it was absolutely critical, but now you're being slightly forced to maybe just, okay, listen, it's good enough. Just push it out. It's good. It's fine for now. We can refine it later. Any thoughts on that kind of stuff happening in your portfolio?
Yeah, look, I mean, if you look at Reid Hoffman said, the CEO of LinkedIn, he said, if you don't have bugs with your release, you've released too late. So he's absolutely right. So I don't have, because we invest in later stage companies along beyond the MVP. They've got great logos, they've got revenue, they're growing at double digits, 10-20% month on month. But my experience is exactly what you said. So no disrespect to engineers, but engineers love building. They love building things, and they're perfectionists. So that it's not good enough until it's good enough. So they will put more and more widgets when those widgets are actually not required by the client. So in the tech space, as an example, the client might use 20% of your functionality. The other 80% is never, ever used. So get that tech out there as quickly as you possibly can. It's okay. rather have 10 POC clients and let them tell you how it's working and use them as really as your customer feedback loop to build, fix, iterate with those clients. So unfortunately, when you get engineer founders, they will never be happy. They keep on building and building and building until the money runs out. When you've got commercially orientated founders and maybe engineers as the CTOs, those guys get it out ASAP. As soon as there's a product that, even if it's buggy, it's okay. Just tell your clients it's buggy. Maybe give them a 3-month, you don't have to pay for this thing, but they are your best feedback mechanism, is your customers. It's not your engineer, it's not yourself, it's not your VC. Your customers will tell you, are you solving their problem or you're not? So that feedback is gold. So that's what I would say. Get the product out as soon as you can and get the feedback from your clients. But be honest with your clients. Tell them, this is going to be a buggy thing, so you're going to help me, and that'll be hopefully a long-lasting client into the future.
Okay, I have my own views on the absolute, kind of like putting your washing out there. I have my own views on that. As far as I'm concerned, best product you'll ever use. Absolutely tested. We love it. Here's my email address if you want to get hold of me. But as I say, everyone, we're both right and we're both wrong. Okay. So please tell me a little bit about some of the war room discussions you're having on the other side of the fence. Some of your investors, because ultimately they're now trying to press you slightly. What are some of the things that they're saying to you? Listen, Clive, we only want to see this now.
Look, yeah, I think, Adi, we're a Section 12J venture capital company. So we've got about, and that's this, this initiative by National Treasury that pays back 100% deduction on your taxable, that's on your investment as into your taxable income.
It's a great initiative.
We've got 400 investors, so we can't have 400 investors telling us what we must and can do. So ours is slightly different to the typical on partnership, where you've got general partners who are people like myself, and you've got local partners. But even then, I must say, I was on a call with the clients last night, and just really, we've got our AGM next week, and we prepared the deck for them, is to put their mind at rest and calm them down, saying, this is what we're doing. We're doing everything we can. We're not saying it's perfect. It's tough. It's really, really tough out there, but we're doing everything we can to look after your capital. Because at the end of the day, number one thing we do, it's not about what's right for Kalon, what's right for the investing company. It's what's right for our investors. We have to get that right, that we can give the returns that we said we would. We are privileged and fortunate for our 8 companies. We've got one problem child, but others are, as I said, are counter-cyclical and doing either standing still, or they're doing extremely well. So we're fortunate. We picked well. It's not skill, it was luck, but they're counter-cyclical to the COVID virus. But in the typical environment where you've got, so we're also looking at raising a big fund now, so a $100 million fund. That's our next big hairy audacious goal. And in that case, we'll have local partners and we'll have our general partners. And it's going to be hard because those LPs are going to want specific verticals. They're going to want specific returns. And also, it's going to be hard to get their capital because at the same time, as you said, they've got a number of other asset classes they can put this capital into, as long as it's not oil, where you can do it at 1 cent. But venture capital is a risky asset class. And so I think it's going to be hard for us to go on our roadshow now. But we've got a great partner, a strategic partner, and we're going to go on a roadshow to try and raise that money. And I think it's going to be a very, 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 it's very hard. I've done it before. It's very hard in normal times. I think it's going to be a hell of a lot harder in COVID times, because I can imagine them questioning even a 20% type of return on capital, opposed to an IRR of 30-38%, which is what we look for in our current fund. So, business as usual.
Yeah, unless they're looking to sweep. Unless they're looking to sweep up, because they got a little bit of a bucket. They got a little bit of a reserve. They say, you know what? Under normal circumstances, we would have wanted 10x, 20x, whatever. Now, the truth is we could possibly pick up 50 companies. And if we get a 5x on some of them, that'll be good as well, because those 50 will be significantly easier to get into. So it just depends on the approach of that. If they see this obviously as a great time to plug some money in at a reduced price, obviously.
I mean, it's interesting you say that, because there's so much capital chasing entrepreneurs in Africa. You know, Africa has become the new frontier for venture capital. And every day, I read another one today, a company who raised $100 million and made their first African investment. So every second day, I see another VC, European VC, American VC, or whatever it is raising another $50, $100 million fund. So Africa is where a lot of money finally, the tap was dripping a couple of years ago. I think the tap is actually finally open. It's still very small relative to the global venture capital, but I do think this coronavirus is going to make digital in Africa even more pervasive. And there's going to be more and more money coming to Africa. So I agree with you. There's a good time to come in because the bargains are there. You know, it's a company that might be knocked at the moment, but it's not a bad company. It's still a great company. So in good times, it still becomes a great company. It's just a great company in a bad neighborhood. So if you're in hospitality, great company, bad neighborhood. Hospitality is not a good neighborhood to be in at the moment. But I do agree with you. I think a lot of a bit more risk-taking local partners will see this as an opportunity opposed to a threat. I'm talking as a matter of interest. I'm talking to a hospitality company right now who is going to do about 50 million rands worth of revenue. They've completely had to shut the business down because, I mean, not down, they're still doing things, but there are no events. So that's where they made their money. But we still see it as a phenomenal company, and we can potentially get it at a drop dead gorgeous price. So we're going to look at that, and we're assuming this COVID won't last forever. At some point, people get outside and go back to events.
Fair enough. Any final thoughts on, as a leader of a business, what do you think the messaging should be to those that work underneath them? There's two approaches. One can be the guys, we're going to come out stronger. We're going to, this is going to be good for us. Just trust in me, push through. That's one approach. It's kind of like the we're going to come out stronger approach. And the other one is more empathetic. The other one, that's my approach, to be honest with you. My approach is rather, here's my number. You can phone me at any time of day or night. If you want to talk to somebody because your baby's crying and your wife is angry and you're unsure, phone me and I'll tell you what I'm doing on a daily basis for all of us. So my approach is more real. It's like, we push, this is the steps we're taking. It's going to be tricky, but I want you to know that I'm available, and maybe you should listen to some music. It'll make you feel better. Don't forget to exercise. It's like practical stuff. Don't eat too many sweets. It's going to make you feel miss and shit anyway. So rather just keep healthy. If you feel good and you get good sleep, then tomorrow we'll have a great day. That's my approach. It's a little bit more real. What do you think about the different approaches and possibly what a message could be going forward? I'm curious.
Yeah, I think, if you talk about the companies with 50, 100, 200, 300, 500 people, I think number one is, and I've been there, I've been through many crises during my Accenture career and while I was building a lot of these tech businesses. Number one you have to do as the leader is you have to be calm. Because if you panic as the leader, you can just imagine what your team are going to do. They're going to see the leader as panicked, it just doesn't see a future, this business is finished. They are going to assume the business is finished and they're going to join Run for Life. So they're going to run away and they're going to panic. So you have to keep calm. As hard as it is, you've got to you need the calmness to your employees because they're looking for leadership. They're looking for a vision. They're looking for what we're going to do. So you've got to have that plan. The second thing I think you have to do, in the event you've got a pivot where you can keep the employees working, and that's obviously, you get a new vision, you pivot your business, and they start doing different things, be the leader and provide that vision. If you are going to have to start cutting salaries or cutting, number of days, be honest. Just call them in, make them part of the problem, part of the solution, not part of the problem. Explain to them why it has to be done. Be absolutely open and honest why it needs to be done. Because I'll tell you, if you don't, they will see straight through it. I had to, in my younger years, when I made partner at Accenture, I had to retrench 200 people. And I still remember being absolutely honest to them and telling them, year 2000 didn't kill everyone. We had all these people, and unfortunately, we can't carry you. And they walked out giving me a hug opposed to being in tears, because I made them see that there was a future for them, but just unfortunately it wasn't with this organization. And I also believe if you do have to get rid of people, help them find alternative work if you can. You leverage your network, leverage your contacts, put them on certain lists or technologies where you can. But just be humble, be honest, and help them where you can. Because if they do, if they're going to run out of money in 3 months' time, help them find and do everything you can to help them find alternative employment. Or if they do go on furlough leave, make them feel confident. As soon as this, and this happens, we're going to bring you back into employment. So I think being honest, being candid, treat them, as you talked about empathy, you've got to be empathetic. You have to understand their situation. They've got children, they've got a child that's maybe got, special needs, whatever it might be. You have to help them in every way you possibly can. And if I see this COVID virus now, how people are coming together, helping each other, everyone's thinking about everyone else and not thinking about themselves, that's what you've got to do. You've got to be that team player that puts them before you put yourself. But keep calm. Don't lose it, because they will just follow their leader. You don't often leaders underestimate the impact of what they say on their employees. They copy every single thing you say, and they listen to every single thing you say. So, have a muzzle over your mouth and watch every word that comes out your mouth, because that'll either keep them calm or it's going to make them panic.
That's very nice, and it makes a lot of sense. So thank you. Well, Clive, we've come to the end of the show. We've put a show together. We didn't even have a show, but we put a show together. And what I really like is practicality of what we've discussed. I'm a very practical person. So I look forward to engaging with you more on LinkedIn and on the phone, and I always try and run stuff past you because I like quality soundboards. And let's see how it plays itself out. Let's see if we can get that curve to just kind of rise a little bit. Because if it's rising, it's going in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so. Yeah, and thanks to your listeners. And please don't hesitate to reach out to me. If you need a bit of advice, I'm always available for a call, because for me, I want to make entrepreneurs heroes. That's what we do in Kalon, is making entrepreneurs heroes. But at the same time, there's nothing I find worse is when it's a great entrepreneur in a bad neighborhood and the business hasn't got the cash flow and has to close down. It really breaks my heart when I see that. And I'm seeing it, unfortunately, every single day at the moment. Unfortunately, within the current COVID environments, and on top of that, besides the health part, is the economic recession we're going through as well.
Absolutely. Clive, will be in touch.
Thank you very much, Adi. Have a good day.
Take care. God
Cheers,
bless.
Adi. Bye.
Cheers.